Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, I will introduce you to four core concepts that explain why most cyber attacks succeed and how security decisions are made. I will clearly explain assets, threats, vulnerabilities, and risk because these ideas form the foundation of how cybersecurity professionals think about protection, attacks, and defense. Now, let's ask ourselves, why is this important? Why are these concepts important? The first one is that most cyber incidents follow a predictable structure, and every attack starts with something valuable that exists. Also, there is always something capable of causing harm. There is usually a weakness as well that makes the attack possible. And understanding this pattern explains why attacks succeed. So let's start with an asset. What is an asset? Assets are things cybersecurity exists to protect. So we can say an asset is anything that has value. It can be anything worth protecting from harm. It can also be digital, physical, or human. And if an asset is lost or damaged, it would matter a lot. So it can cost such a person or an organization a lot if an asset is lost or damaged. So what are assets examples? Assets appear everywhere in daily life and organization. So we can have smartphones and laptops that store valuable information, email and online accounts that represent digital identity, or maybe personal and business data that drive decisions and operations, or servers and applications that power services. And lastly, it could be critical infrastructure that supports society. The next one we'll consider is a threat. What is a threat? Threats represent possible sources of harm. So we can say threat is anything that can cause damage to an asset. Threats can be intentional or accidental. They may be human, technical, or environmental. Also, a threat represents potential damage, not guaranteed harm. So what are threat examples? Threats come from many different sources. So a threat could be hackers and cybercriminals that are intentionally causing harm, phishing emails and scams that are launched or done to trick users, malware and ransomware that damage systems. There could also be insider mistakes that happen unintentionally, or power outages and system failures that disrupt operations. The next one we'll consider is a vulnerability. What is a vulnerability? Vulnerabilities are weaknesses that allow threats to succeed. So we can say a vulnerability is a weakness that can be exploited. It can exist in systems, processes, or human behavior. Also, vulnerabilities make attacks possible. That means vulnerabilities are not attacks. You're going to understand that better as we proceed. And lastly, most vulnerabilities are unintentional. So what are the examples of vulnerabilities that we have? Many vulnerabilities come from simple mistake. So it could be a weak or reused password that are easy to exploit. It could also be an outdated software that contain known flaws, or poor system configuration that exposes systems. It could as well be clicking on known links that can create entry points, or lack of security awareness that increase risks. Now let's consider how threats and vulnerabilities connect. The truth is, attacks happen when threats meet vulnerabilities. So we can say threats need vulnerabilities to succeed. And also, vulnerabilities without threats cause no harm. That means that without threats, vulnerabilities are just vulnerabilities. Also, incidents occur when threats and vulnerability target an asset. And the essence of cybersecurity is to break the connection between these two, that is, the connection between threats and vulnerabilities. So the next one is risk. What is risk? Risk helps decide what needs attention first. So we can say a risk is the chance that harm will occur. And it also depends on how likely and how damaging an incident would be. So we can say risk help us to prioritize security efforts, and it is good to add that not all risks are equal. They can be different. Some can be higher, some can be lower, and their impact can be severer than each other. So I'm going to show you a simple example that show how these four concepts work together. Let's say we have a smartphone and that is our asset. We have a threat and that is the theft. We have a vulnerability, and the vulnerability to this particular phone after it has been stolen is that it is having no lock screen. And what is the risk associated with this? The risk is that the person who stole the phone can gain unauthorized access. And lastly, the control to this is enabling a lock screen. And when we are talking about risk management, I must add that cybersecurity focuses on managing risks, sometimes not totally eliminating it. So risk can never be completely removed. That's the truth. And risk can be reduced through controls. Also, decisions are based on importance and impact. And lastly, security is about making smart trade-offs. You need to know what to let go, what to accept, what to mitigate against, and so on. You get to understand more about risk management as you proceed. Now, let's consider how these concepts work together. These four ideas that I've mentioned, or these four concepts, form a complete security picture. And we can start with assets. We can say assets define what matters, threats define what could cause harm, vulnerabilities reveal weaknesses, and risk guides protection priorities. So let's take a mental picture of what we've learned in this lesson. The four concepts we've learned form the foundation of cybersecurity thinking. So, in summary, you should one, understand the difference between assets, threats, vulnerabilities, and risk. Two, you should be able to see how they relate to real incidents. Three, you should understand why most attacks follow this structure. And four, which is the last one, you should see how security decisions are made. Now, let's test ourselves. Here is the question. Which option best explains how assets, threats, vulnerabilities, and risk work together in cybersecurity? You can pause the video, read the options, pick the answer in your mind, and then play to see the answer. Now, what is your answer? The answer is, hey, assets are valuable things, threats are potential sources of harm, vulnerabilities are weaknesses, and risk helps decide which problems to address first. That's all for this lesson, and see you in the next one.